Hello everyone. Let us continue with the module 5 topics. In this video, we are going to discuss about transaction management. Now let's look into the term transaction. A transaction is an executing program that forms a logical unit of database processing. Transaction processing systems are systems with large databases and hundreds of concurrent users executing database transactions. For example, airline reservations, banking, credit card processing, etc. And these systems require high availability and fast response time for hundreds of concurrent users. So the transaction processing systems are systems with large databases which consist of hundreds of concurrent users. The database operations that form a transaction can either be embedded within an application program or they can be specified via SQL. So to specify the transaction boundaries explicitly, the begin transaction and end transaction statements can be used in an application program. All the database access operations between these two statements are considered as one transaction. Okay, so this database operations that form a transaction can be embedded within an application program or they can be specified by SQL. If it is in application program, we are having two statements which specifies the transaction boundaries. They are begin transaction and end transaction statements. Okay. If the database operations in a transactions do not update the database but only retrieve the data, then the transaction is called a read-only transaction. Otherwise, it is a read-write transaction. That means if there is no update, then it is a read-only transaction. If there is an update, then it is a read-write transaction. So now let's look into the various database items. A database is represented as a collection of named data items in the database model, which is used to present the transaction processing concepts. So a data item can be a record, but it can also be a larger unit such as a whole disk block, where the block means a unit of data transfer from disk to main memory, or even a smaller unit such as an attribute value of some record in a database. So a data item, it can be either a record or a disk block or even an attribute. Okay, where the disk block means it is the unit of data transfer from disk to main memory. Okay, and the size of the data item is called its granularity. The basic database access operations that a transaction includes are read item of X and write item of X. Read item of X reads a database item named X into a program variable. Write item of X writes the value of a program variable X into the database item named X. The read set of a transaction is the set of all items that the transaction reads. And the write set is the set of all items that the transaction writes. Okay. For example, the read set of transaction T1 in the figure is X, Y because it reads two items X and Y. And its write set is also X, Y because it writes two items X and Y. Okay, so the read set means the set of items that the transaction reads and the write set means the set of items that the transaction writes. Okay. Okay, when executing this read item of X command, it includes the various steps like we need to find the address of the disk block that contains the item X. Then copy that disk block into a buffer in main memory if that block is not in the main memory buffer. Then copy the item X from the buffer to the program variable named X. Similarly, when executing the write item of X, the command, the various processes are find the address of the disk block of the item X, copy that disk block into the main memory buffer if that disk block is not already in main memory buffer. Then copy the item X from the program variable named X into its correct location in buffer. Store the updated block from buffer back to disk. Okay, so when to store or update the modified disk block whose contents are in a main memory buffer is handled by the recovery manager of the DBMS in cooperation with the underlying operating system. So while writing the item and if the disk block gets modified when it is in the main memory buffer, the recovery manager of the DBMS decides when to update it. The DBMS maintains a number of data buffers in main memory, and each of these buffers typically holds the contents of one database disk block which contains some of the database items being processed. When these buffers are all occupied, and additional database disk blocks must be copied into memory, some buffer replacement policy is used to choose which of the current buffers is to be replaced. If the chosen buffer has been modified, it must be written back to disk before it is reused. So when to update is determined by the recovery manager of the DBMS. Okay, so the DBMS maintains some data buffers in the main memory which typically holds the contents of some database items, and when these buffers are full, we need to apply some buffer replacement policy, and if the chosen buffer has been modified while residing in the buffer, it must be returned back to disk before it is reused. A transaction can be seen as a series of list of actions. That means it consists of a list of operations. The actions that can be executed by a transaction include reads and writes of the database objects. Okay, so the operations that can be performed on the database objects like read and write, they are the actions that can be executed by a transaction. Okay. In addition to this reading and writing, each transaction must specify as its final action either commit or abort. Commit means the transaction is completed successfully, or abort. Abort means terminate and undo all the actions carried out so far. So when transactions are executing concurrently in an interleaved fashion, then the order of these actions or operations from all the various transactions is known as schedule or history. That is, when the transactions are executing concurrently in an interleaved fashion, that means when these are executing simultaneously, then the order of execution of operation is significant. And this order of actions from all the various transactions is known as a schedule or the history. So a schedule can be defined as the sequential ordering of operations of n interleaved transactions. That is, they represent the chronological order in which instructions are executed in the system. So it is defined, a schedule is defined as the sequential ordering of operations of n interleaved transactions. So it describes the actions of transactions as seen by the DBMS. A schedule that contains either an abort or a commit statement for each transaction whose actions are listed in it are called as a complete schedule. So a complete schedule must contain all the actions of every transactions that appear in it, and it contains either an abort or a commit statement. So here we are given with an example, the transactions T1 and T2, but this schedule does not contain an abort or commit action for either of these transaction T1 and T2, and so it is not a complete schedule. If the actions of different transactions are executed from beginning to end one by one, that is in serial order, then the schedule can be called as serial schedule. And in serial schedule, all the instructions belonging to one single transaction appears together. That is, each serial schedule consists of a sequence of instructions from various transactions where the instructions belonging to one single transaction appear together in that schedule. Okay, in the given example, the T1, it consists of the read item on the item A and read and write operation on the item B. So the set of instructions are appearing together in that schedule. Similarly for T2, the set of instructions like reading and writing on A and B is appearing together in that schedule. So this type of schedule can be called as a serial schedule. And for a set of n transactions, there exist n factorial different valid serial schedules. If the actions of different transactions are interleaved, then the schedule can be called as concurrent schedule. So if the two transactions are running concurrently, the operating system may execute one transaction for a little while, then perform a context switch, execute the second transaction for some time, and then switch back to the first transaction for some time, and so on. That means here the transactions are executed in interleaved fashion. They are not executed in a single stretch. So such schedule can be called as a concurrent schedule. The transaction processing systems usually allow multiple transactions to run concurrently. So in the given example, in the transaction T1, it reads the item A, it withdraws the value 50 from the account A, and it writes back. After that, the transaction T2, a part of T2 is started its execution. After executing a set of statements by T2, again the control will be switching back to the T1. Then after executing the set of statements in T1, it will switch back to T2 and so on. So with multiple transactions, the CPU time is shared among all the transactions. So in the case of concurrent schedule, the number of possible schedules for a set of n transactions is much greater than n factorial. Also, not all concurrent executions result in a correct state. For example, initially A is equal to 1000 and B is equal to 2000. And after the execution of this schedule, the state with the final values of account A and B are rupees 950 and rupees 2100 respectively. And this final state is actually an inconsistent state. The concurrency control component of the database system ensures that any schedule that gets executed will leave the database in a consistent state. So this consistency is ensured by making sure that any schedule that is executed has the same effect as a schedule that could have occurred without concurrent execution. Okay, so consistency makes sure that any schedule has the same effect as the transactions are executing in serial manner. There are two good reasons for allowing concurrency. The first one is improved throughput and resource utilization. That is, the CPU and the disk in the computer system can operate in parallel. Okay, so we can have a read or write operation on one disk. Another transaction can be running in the CPU, while another disk may be executing another set of read or write on behalf of third transaction. So all this increases the throughput of the system. Throughput actually means the number of transactions executed in a given amount of time. So at a particular time, we are executing a set of transaction on one disk, another set of transaction on CPU and another set of transaction on another disk. So we are doing it in concurrent manner, and so the throughput and the resource utilization increases. The second reason is a reduced waiting time. In a serial processing, a short transaction may have to wait for a preceding long transaction to complete, which can lead to unpredictable delays in running a transaction. So only after completing the previous transaction, the next transaction can start its execution in serial processing. So though the transaction is a short one, they have to wait for the preceding long transaction to complete. But in the concurrent execution, it reduces the unpredictable delays in running transactions. Moreover, it reduces the average response time, the average time for a transaction to be completed after it has been submitted. So in this video, we discussed about the term transactions, database items, read and write operations, database buffers, transactions and schedules, serial schedule and concurrent schedule. Thank you.